Okay, in this video, we are going to be looking at multiplying polynomials. So we'll look at multiplying a monomial by a monomial by a binomial, and maybe a binomial times another binomial, and maybe a polynomial times a polynomial. Anyway, we're timesing a bunch of things. First thing to recognize is that multiplying is different than adding or subtracting. If we're adding these two terms here, they're not like terms, so I can't really add them. The simplest I could get is 3x take away 5. If I'm multiplying, though, I can do something with that. I like to think when I'm multiplying monomials like this of three things that you have to worry about. First is you have to worry about what sign the answer is going to be. And then you worry about multiplying the numbers. And then you worry about multiplying the letters. And each of those has its own separate rules with it. So signs, remember, if you have a minus times a minus, that's a positive. A minus times a positive, it's a minus, etc. Same thing with numbers, same thing with exponent rules with letters or variables. So when I'm multiplying this, I look at the sign. Positive times negative, my answer is negative. Numbers, 3 times 5 is 15. Letters, x times, there's no x over here, would just be an x. So that would be the answer to that. Notice I did three things. Let's try it with this one. Sign, what's it going to be? Yep, negative. Number, 4 times 2, 8. Got it. Letters, I'm going y squared times y to the 6th. If it helps you to write it out somewhere else like that, y squared times y to the 6th, you could. Hopefully you identify that that is the product rule of exponents. Multiplying common bases, add their exponents. So for down here, this would be negative 8y to the 8th. Try a couple. Okay, hopefully you've pressed pause and then play. This one, sign, negative times positive, negative. Numbers, there aren't any numbers written, but I assume that they're ones. So 1 times 1 would be a 1. And then multiplying the letters, x times x. Again, they each have an exponent of 1 there, so adding exponents, it'd be negative 1x squared. You could write that as negative x squared. Either's fine. This one, negative times negative is positive. 7 2s are 14. Y to the 5 plus 1 would be 6. So that would be the answer for that. Not too bad. Those are just monomials times a monomial. Let's try the next step up. Monomial times a polynomial, like this. So here I have a monomial outside, and I have to multiply it by two terms inside here. When you do that, that's the distributive property coming in action. We've seen that before. So I need to multiply this 4x times that, and then the 4x times the 4. Let me just use a different color. The 4x times the 4. So let's do the first one. 4x times 2x. Sign, SNL. Sign, it's going to be positive. Numbers, 4 times 2 is 8. Letters, x times x, x squared. So I've taken care of that first product. Now let's do the next one. So 4x times 4. Sign, it's going to be positive. Numbers, 4 times 4 is 16. Letters, x times, there's no x's here, so it would just be an x. Okay, hopefully you're getting on. Try these ones. Okay, hopefully you've pressed pause and play again. So I'm going to multiply those, and I'm going to multiply those. So first the red ones. Sign, negative. Number, 3 times 5 is 15. T squared times t would be t cubed. Done that one. Now let's do 3t squared times 2. Sign, positive. 3 times 2 is 6. T squared times, there's no t's, would just be a t squared. Okay, hopefully you're getting onto it. If doing things in colors like this sort of helps you break things down a little bit, and if it helps you be more accurate, grab yourself a couple of different pens. That would work. Okay, next one, sign, it's going to be positive. 2 5s are 10, d cubed. Next one, negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 2 is 4. D times d is d squared. Okay, you might want to practice some of those. Let's move on, though, to a binomial times a binomial. 2 terms times 2 terms. In this case here, it's the distributive property happening twice. So I'm going to multiply the x times this x, and then I'm going to multiply the x times the 5, and then I'll multiply the negative 3 times the x, and lastly I'll multiply the negative 3 times the 5. So let's start with this one. And remember, each time you're doing SNL, right? X times x. Sign is going to be positive. Number 1 times 1 is 1, so that first one will just be x squared. The next one, x times a positive 5, is going to be a positive, and a 5, and an x. Next one, negative 3 times x is going to be a negative. 3 times 1 is 3. X times no x is here would just be an x. And lastly, negative 3 times 5. Sign, negative times positive is negative. 3 5s are 15. There's no x's, so I don't have to write any down there. Now to finish off this question, I see that I have some like terms in the middle, and so I can add those. So I'd have x squared, 5x take away 3x would be a positive 2x minus 15. So this would be my answer to that initial product. Try a couple. Okay, this one would be x squared plus 5x plus 8x plus 40. Middle two terms I can add again, so it'd be x squared plus 13x plus 40. I'll just give you the answer to the next one. So it'll be x squared plus x minus 20. That should be your answer. You would have got a minus 4x and a plus 5x in there somewhere. Okay, let's try another one. Ooh, this one has a trinomial times. What are you going to do with that? Well, I guess I need more colors. I'd have to go the x times this x times that, and x times the positive 4. And then the y times everything, and then the 3 times everything. So really you're doing 9 multiplications, and you're having to remember 3 things for every one of those. So it's 27 things you got to get right on this product. I'll do it fairly quickly. X times x, x squared. Negative 3xy, positive 4x. That takes care of the x. Then the y. Y times x would be a positive xy. Notice I just put them in the right order alphabetically. Y times negative 3y would be a negative 3y squared. Y times 4, a positive 4y. Okay, and lastly, 3 times x plus 3x. 3 times negative 3y would be a negative 9y. And 3 times 4 would be 12. Now, collecting everything, x squareds, they just have 1. A y squared, there's just 1. Minus 3y squared. And xy, I'll get rid of those. xy, here's another one. So I'm down 3, I gain 1, so I'd still be down 2 xy's. Done. X's, 4x plus 3x, that'd be 7x. Done. 4y minus 9y would be a negative 5y. Done. Only thing left is the positive 12. So that would be the product of that one. That's a nice nasty one to do. I like those. Okay, so in this section we have looked at multiplying polynomials. Found that it's different than adding. Every time you multiply any kind of polynomial, you've got to worry about a sign, a number, and a letter. We didn't really talk about FOIL. I didn't use that word, but here, that's what this is here. FOIL stands for the firsts. Whoops, that should be blue. The firsts, that's this one. And then the outside ones, that's those ones. And then these two are the inner ones. And the last ones is the L. So a lot of people, for this double distributive property thing, they call that FOIL. If that helps you remember it, that is good. Try some questions.